Oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh, that's okay, I got it.
Grandmother Willis, when she came, when Mama died and Grandmother Willis came and took over, she took them all down and had their picture made. And that's
Uh-huh.
where that picture came from.
Yeah,
And that's Sissy. Sissy was really very pretty when
she was
young.
beautiful.
No, I've never seen that picture.
Yeah, I've seen
Well,
it.
you're welcome. You can make a copy of it, honey. You're welcome to it.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Rue, would you bring my phone?
I will.
Well, she's got a,
I've got a copy of it.
Oh, okay.
so we can make,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
we can make.
And that's her genius. And I think I have two of those. So Karen, you can have one and he can have one. Aren't they identical?
No, it's not the same.
No.
No, those are different.
This has
Brother.
got her married to Cecil.
And this is going down D.O.
Yeah. this
So
goes
one is
down.
later.
Yeah, so it's 2 pages, yeah.
Don, do you want me to get your drink and sit in front of you?
You're in the way of the camera.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
I didn't know. I forgot you were getting
All right. Now, let me tell you about this. I went up there and had a long visit with Sissy. Sissy and I were friends until I told her that she had given her, I told her that she shouldn't give her daddy's land to that bunch of dope heads and prostitutes. So we were not friends after that. But this was in May of 2000. And these were things that she told me. After Mama died, and Sissy had graduated from high school, and she went back to school for another year and took typing because she had to act as an interpreter for Pete. That's what she told me. He was so tongue-tied that none of the teachers could understand him. And she had to take, and she had to take me to school because I was so shy that I wouldn't go. So she had to go back to school for another year after she graduated to interpret for Pete and to take me to school. She married when she was 17, and she says Daddy approved of Cecil because he was older, and Daddy was friends with him and with his daddy. She said Daddy always said, you will not marry a can licker, a fiddler, or a fisherman.
Can liquor?
Those were all derogatory terms.
Can liquor.
A can licker was someone who did not grow their own food.
That's a new one on me.
Ate food from cans.
Can liquor.
All right, let's see. A fiddler had bad connotations because they were associated with dancing, which was considered immoral and frivolous. A fisherman was someone who was lazy, indolent, unambitious, frittered away his time on non-essential things.
This fish as many days as you can fish.
I asked her if Daddy ever went fishing. She said she thought he would have liked to go, but Mama wouldn't go. She remembered once being at Johnson Lake with Daddy and Uncle Buck in a boat checking trot lines. And she was in the middle of the boat, and when they pulled up the trot line, they thought they had a really big fish. And when they got it up at the top, it was a huge alligator who had gotten tangled up in the line and drowned. They cut it loose and let it sink. Sissy didn't date much. She mentioned someone named Weisinger. She said he was dumb. And Norman Branch, who was a baseball player,
Fished for the
pitcher,
Yankees in the
Went to
1938-37 World Series.
and said he played ball for them and at the University of Texas. And then he was signed by the Yankees and went to New York. She never had any desire to go away to school or to leave Montgomery. After Norman went to UT, they lost touch. She and Cecil lived with Daddy for a while until his daddy, this is the way she put it, his daddy needed someone to come and live with him. And so they moved to Scotts Ridge. That was when Daddy got Granny Martin to come out and live with us. She told me in a telephone conversation that Daddy had jumped on her for not taking good enough care of the kids, us, and said some things he shouldn't have said. And that they were estranged for a while until he called her to come and said, I've got to change my ways or I'm going to be all alone. And after that, they were friends again.
Now this was your father. she's talking about.
Yeah. When I told Hoopy that story, Hoopy remembered standing in the big room with Daddy one morning, and he was fussing about where were Sissy and Cecil. They had not come down from upstairs yet, and that they should be down fixing breakfast and getting us ready for school. And Hoopy said she started to go up the back stairs to go tell him, and he stopped her. He said, just let me see how late they're gonna be. And when they came down, he lit into them. You have to wonder if that was the same incident that Sissy was describing as them going to be with Cecil's father. All right, now these are Sissy's words. Mama lived in her own world. We never went to Mama, we always went to Daddy. She was very detached from the real world. Hoopy tells the story of getting ready to go to school one morning. The bus was coming, and she was trying to find her mud boots. She was looking in the closet under the back stairs, and she found one, but she couldn't find the other one. Mama was sitting at the breakfast table drinking coffee and reading the paper, and so Hoopy went over and asked her, and she said, I don't know where my other boot is. And Mama's answer was, Lord, child, I have no idea. She didn't get up to help her. She didn't do. She was no better mother than a cat, really, you know. And Hoopy also told of breaking out in a terrible rash on her chest area. And she finally told Daddy, and he called Dr. Young to look at it. And they decided she had brushed up against a bush, and these little tiny spiders had fallen inside of her blouse and bitten her. The point is, our mother was not the nurturer, and the children realized that, so they went to Daddy instead. I asked about Grandmother Willits trying to make a match for Mama before she snuck off and married Daddy. Sissy said there was a Dr. Randall from the medical school in Galveston, and she confirmed what John had said about some older senator from Kentucky who was widowed and had 3 children. This was after our mother made her debut in Galveston because they were trying to marry her off. And so, I mean, that's the whole purpose of the debut, is for them to, and so they were trying to make a match for her, and evidently it didn't work.
Evidently.
All right, Sissy wants to believe that Mama got pregnant and had to get married, and then lost that child. But this is part of Sissy's deep, deep dislike of her mother. She did not like her mother, and she never said anything good about her. It was so sad. When I pushed on where she got this information, she couldn't come up with anything specific, but finally said it was based on Aunt Genevieve. She even went so far as to say that they faked their marriage license, that they were not really married.
It sounds like
She is very unclear about the dates of the debut of the marriage and of this supposed pregnancy. Hoopy said Aunt Mary told her that Mama lost 2 babies, but indicated that she had lost one between some of us and then the one when she died.
That's what she told me, that
Yeah.
between Pete and Joe,
She lost a baby,
she thought that she lost a baby.
and then she
And
died
then
in
when she
childbirth.
died.
Now, wasn't that pretty common
Yeah.
in those days?
Yeah.
Like Betty died
Yeah,
from
I think
childbirth?
it was because they were out in the country. All right, Sissy said that Mama drew, very reluctantly, only when we begged her. She liked to sing songs and recite poems, and I remember that. One of the songs that Sissy remembers her singing, I didn't remember it. In 1492, a dago from Italo, he walked up and down the street and silly hot tamalo. I don't remember that. He knew the world was round, that land it could be found. I'll be a cross-eyed rinky-dink if I don't bring back Chicago. So it's a nonsense rhyme.
Yeah.
Daddy sang, "Oh, Sister Phoebe, how merry was she the night she sat under the juniper tree." I don't remember that either. Mama loved to recite poems. Her favorites were the Ballad of Dan McGrew, You remember that?
Yes, ma'am, I
But
do.
and she can recite that. Since I left the plum tree down in Tennessee, it's the first time I've been warm. In India's sunny clime, and Edgar Allan's quote, "The raven nevermore." I remember her saying that one. Or the children's hour. That was another one. And the goblins will get you if you don't watch out. That was another one. I asked Sissy again if Daddy ever worked for Grandma Willis. And John did not think that Daddy ever worked for Grandmother Willis, but Sissy does. She says Daddy was the one who helped Grandmother Willis build the tenant houses, get the colored families to live on the place, get the cattle and horses, and set up the whole operation, that he was the one that helped him. She thinks this is how he got to know Mama. When Mama and Daddy married, they first lived in the Charles A. Stewart house. Someone told her that that was where Sissy was born.
The Stewart House is right there on 105 and 149.
Oh,
Okay. Aunt Mary and Uncle George at one
No,
time.
excuse me, it's not. That's incorrect. They just moved it. It's out 105 east about 2 miles past Montgomery on the right. The
Really?
property just sold and they moved the house. So I told you wrong.
Aunt Mary and Uncle George at one time did tenant farming for Grandmother Willis. She has heard that at one time Mama and Daddy lived with them. They moved to the little Dick Womack house. That's where the picture of the kids on the horse was made.
It's up down 149.
Oh, this is funny. Sissy got to talking about guinea hens. She said someone had guineas and they roost at night in the trees and therefore should be safe from foxes and possums. But one day when she was out with some of the colored folks, they came across a dead guinea hen under a tree. And she thought it had fallen in the night and been killed. The colored folks said no, an owl had gotten it. And she said, well, how could an owl have killed it? An owl has to attack when a bird is flying. And he sticks his talons in the bird's back and grabs its head with his beak and breaks its back. That's how they kill him. Well, if the guinea hen is sitting on a tree branch, there's no way an owl could kill it. And the colored folks said, Miss Sissy, how come you lived here all your life and don't know nothing about owls?
I wonder who that was, Jim Miller or who? I wonder who the.
I don't know.
It had to be Jim Miller or it had to be Miller or that Easley. She didn't say.
No,
It would be interesting if she or one of the Hatchets,
yeah.
You want me to fix your?
no, I'm fine.
one of the Hatchets or somebody.
All right, she says, you lived here all your life and don't know nothing about owls. That old owl flies down and sits on the branch right next to that guinea hen, and he just keeps shuffling over. And that guinea hen will move and move and move till he falls off the end of the branch. And when he falls, that owl swoops down and grabs
You know who that sounds like? Bootney Arnsworth.
Does
It sounds just like Bootney.
Says that owl just dropped that guinea after it killed it. Now that's some story, and that's typical of Sissy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's typical of somebody like Bootney that was pulling her leg.
She was visiting some friends one night, and they were sitting in the porch visiting, and their hens were roosting on top of the barn fence. And they watched an owl do just that to one of those hens.
Pushed him off the branch and he fell and she went. You'd have had to known all these black people
Yeah.
that were part of our family. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
my dad loved Bootney Arnsworth like he did me.
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
honey, we lived in the middle of it.
Yeah, that's all we had.
Well, anyway,
See
I'll
if
make
this
a
is
copy
still-
of this
It
and
is.
you can have it.
But
These are
she's
just
still in
notes
there?
that I
Yeah,
took
I've
from the
already looked.
conversation with Sissy.
She's in a perfect spot. John, she can move all the way up the table, all the way
Okay.
back. She's great.